Welcome to chapter 3. In this chapter, I will discuss every single concept that we are going to use in our setup in every trade. Alright? The breaker blocks, fair value gaps, order blocks, rejection blocks, mitigation blocks, all of that concept. I will explain everything in detail to you how we are going to leverage those concepts. All right? So, once again, welcome to chapter 3 PD arrays. All right, so in other words, PD arrays is equal to point of interest. PD arrays is just a concept used by our mentor ICT, right? But it can be also called point of interest. Right? You can use any term you want. Sometimes I will refer to it as point of interest, sometimes as PD array, but it's just the same. Alright? So, what are PD arrays? Okay, so PD arrays are simply premium and discount arrays. The meaning of P in this PD array is premium. The meaning of D in this PD array is discount, which simply means premium and discount array. Those are fair value gaps, order blocks, breaker blocks inside a discount or premium zone. Alright? So these zones, this point of interest or PD arrays are most active when price aligns with time. So what does it mean? If you can remember on our last video, the time and price video, I mentioned that time and price is the most important element in trading. Alright? So for example, you have equal lows. Then the price went down lower. Right? And it has now shifted higher. That setup is nothing without time. Also, PD arrays will not work without time. That is why those setups fail. Those PD arrays fail because it has not time. Alright? So the most high probability PD arrays can be found inside a kill zone. Alright? So PD arrays are the true support and resistance. This is the most used term in the trading space, support and resistance. Alright? But retail traders use equal highs and equal lows as support and resistance, which is the wrong way to go. Alright? So the true support and resistance are PD arrays. Those are fair value gaps, order blocks, breaker blocks, rejection blocks, mitigation blocks. Those are the true support and resistance. Alright, so remember that. So it means that it will support price and it will resist the price to go higher or lower. Alright, so this is very, very important. Even if you know PD arrays, if you don't know the true use of PD arrays, you will not be able to execute it and use it correctly. Alright, so I need you to take this down. We treat PD arrays as line of defense. Alright, so what does it mean? Line of defense. From the word itself, line of defense. Every fair value gap that form, every breaker block that form, every order block that form, those are all considered line of defense. Alright, so for example, we are bearish. We want to see price respect an order block, a fair value gap, or a breaker block. Those are the defenses that the price should respected. We do not want to see those PD arrays be disrespected. the price should respect those line of defense. Alright? If you don't understand it now, I will explain it in the next slides. Alright, so PD arrays. These are the PD arrays. Premium and discount array. Here we have our premium right here. It means that the price of the market is expensive at this zone. It means this is the zone that we want to sell. Of course, if you want to sell something, you want to sell it in a premium price, in an expensive price, right? And the zone is the discount zone. This is exactly where we want to buy. Of course, if you want to buy something, you want to buy it at discount price, alright? For example, the market is bearish. You want to sell inside the premium because the price is expensive at this zone. Fair value gaps, order blocks, breaker blocks, and rejection blocks. These are the support and resistance that holds the price. I will explain more in detail in the confluence chapter. Alright, so this is a very good comparison to our PD arrays. Alright, I need you to imagine this. This floor is our support and the ceiling is the resistance. Alright, so all of the supports are fair value gaps, order blocks, breaker blocks, rejection blocks. Alright, so if the price is bullish, we wanna see price respect this support, right? We wanna see price respect this support right here, the PD arrays. All of those fair value gaps and other PD arrays, right? And the price should continue higher. And now, for example, if we are bearish, we wanna see price find resistance into that PD arrays, the fair value gaps, order blocks, breaker blocks, and the price should continue lower, right? So always remember, PD arrays are the true support and resistance. If we are bearish, price should find resistance into those PD arrays. If we are bullish, price should find support into that PD arrays. Alright, so here is our live market example. Before I mark out the charts, I want you to imagine first all of the existing PD arrays in this price action. I want you to imagine where the price seems to be finding some kind of support and resistance in this price action. Now I'm going to show it to you. So as we can see right here, we are overall bullish in this price action. So let's see how the price reacts into those PD arrays. As we can see right here, price is initially bullish. We are forming up close candles. Then here we have a down close candle right here. And as we can see right here, price breaks this swing high right here. We have our breakup structure going higher. This down close right here is our order block. We want to see price respect this order block. We want to see price find support in this down close candle right here in this order block. And as we can see right here, price went up, retraced lower, initially finding support in this order block, went higher, but it went a little bit deeper into that order block. And as we can see right here, price beautifully respected this order block right here. This is our consequent encroachment, or for simple term, this is our midpoint. This is the midpoint of our order block. Price went down lower, respecting beautifully that order block. And then we went higher. We formed here an imbalance, a fair value gap. Price went higher. We have another break of structure right here. Then price retraces lower. We have a fair value gap right here. This is a PD array that we want to see price respect. And would you look at that? Price respected that fair value gap beautifully, even failing to close a candle inside this fair value gap. Look at that. Price went down, created this candle low, and then went up, closing above that fair value gap. Price tried to go lower once again, but rejected strongly that fair value gap and then went up once again. And for the last time, price once again tried to go more deeper, but price once again failed to displace lower, respecting this fair value gap. And now it has continued higher. See that? This right here is our true support and resistance. We want PD arrays to be respected just like this one. When you see a beautiful reaction just like this is a very good confluence for us to see higher prices. And as we can see right here, price continued higher once again. We have another break of structure right here. Price went up, displaced very deeply, failing to respect our order block right here. But if you look closely, we have our fair value gap right here. It once again provided support in this retracement. As we can see, price retraced lower, failing to respect this order block, but we find support once again in this fair value gap. Price failed to displace lower, and once again, it continued higher. We have another break of structure in here. Price once again continued higher, another retracement, and now price failed to continue higher. Look at those rejections, alright? When you see candles just like this one, failing to displace higher into a swing high, this is a very good sign of reversal. And as we can see right here, price failed to displace higher once again, closing with a long wick right here. And then it displaced lower now. We have here our order block. This up candle right here is our order block. And these down candles right here are our breaker block. Price displays lower, creating a fair value gap right here. Retraced, and as we can see, price respected this breaker block right here. Alright? Like I said, we consider PD arrays as a line of defense. Right here, since this fair value gap is lower than this breaker block, this is our first line of defense. As we can see, price retraced higher, respecting the midpoint of that fair value gap. We want to see price go lower after this beautiful reaction. But still, price tried to continue going higher, but it failed to close above this fair value gap, rejecting very strongly in this breaker block. As we can see right here, price tried to go higher, finding strong resistance into this breaker block, and then it continued going higher. Once again, right here, we have a break of structure. This up candles right here is our order block, overlapping into that fair value gap. This is a high probability order block. Order block overlapping with the fair value gap is a higher probability order block. Price tried to go higher, but find a very strong resistance into that order block, overlapping into that fair value gap. As we can see, it retraced higher and then continued going lower. See that? See how price reacts very strongly to our PD arrays. So, here is another live market price action. This is a bit more on a consolidation price action, but still, we can see how the market respects and reacts into these PD arrays and how they fight the true support and resistance into these PD arrays. So first, let's go into the left side of this price action. So as we can see right here, we have a fair value gap right here. Price went lower and then retraces higher, beautifully reacting and feeling that fair value gap right here. The low of the fair value gap right here, it finds a very strong resistance right there, failing to close even inside this fair value gap. We have a long wick right here, which means it rejected this area very strongly and then it continued going lower. Price continued lower and we have another retracement right here. If you look in this price action, we have up close candles. This up close candles right here is our order block. And look very closely how the price respected that order block right here. Price retraced back inside into that order block and respected that order block. And then it continued going lower. Once again right here, price retraced higher. We have here a fair value gap overlapping with an order block right here. And as we can see, price retraced only inside this zone right here, overlapping into this fair value gap. Price only retraced higher inside this zone, finding a strong resistance and then continued lower. Alright, this is our first line of defense right here, this small fair value gap. And then these order blocks right here are our last line of defense. And price respected our second line of defense, this first up close candle right here, and continued going lower. Now we have gone lower, price retraced back once again. As we can see right here, we have this fair value gap right here. Price respected this low of the fair value gap right here, failing even to displace higher, finding a very strong resistance in that low right here. And now it has continued going lower. Right here, price consolidated a bit, but still it respected PD arrays. This is why PD arrays are very important. This is why mastering PD arrays are very important. Because if you see how price reacts and respects into those PD arrays, you can determine right away if the price is going to continue or it's going to reverse. And as we can see right here, we have a fair value gap right here. We want this fair value gap to be respected, right? Since we have already retraced back into this fair value gap, we want the price to continue going lower now. We want this swing low right here to be this respected. Since we have already retraced into this fair value gap, now we should displace going lower and continue bearish. But after retracing into this fair value gap, price failed to continue lower. It failed to displace lower. And as we can see right here, we have our rejection block. Price only respected this rejection block right here, which means it's no longer going lower. Yes, exactly. If it wanted to continue going lower, it should have disrespected this swing low right here. But since price respected this rejection block right here, this wick right here, it means it will now reverse higher. It will now go into the other side of the market. Price went lower, respected this rejection block right here, and has now shifted higher. We have here a market structure shift. We also have here a breaker block. Also, we have here a fair value gap. This is a high probability breaker block. Breaker block overlapping into a fair value gap. This is a higher probability breaker block. Price retraced lower inside this breaker block. This is our first line of defense, this fair value gap. But since this fair value gap has been disrespected, this is our last line of defense, this breaker block right here. And as we can see, price respected this breaker block right here. You can enter in this breaker block after we see this candle forming going higher. You can enter right here, and now the price has went higher. Once again here, we have a fair value gap and also down close candle. These are order blocks. Fair value gaps plus order block. This is a high probability order block. So we want to see price respect this order block right here. Now we went higher. We have our fair value gap right here. We want price to respect this fair value gap if it wants to continue going higher. Price reacted here. We want to see a displacement in the swing high, but price failed to displace higher in this swing high. We have here rejections, and price continued lower. Once again here, we tried to respect this fair value gap, But once again, price failed to displace in this swing high. Now the price has gone lower, deep into this dealing range. This is our last line of defense, this order block right here. But thankfully, if you look at the left side of the chart right here, we have a fair value gap. Price respected this fair value gap right here. See that? Price went lower, rejecting this fair value gap right here, and then it has went higher. Would you look at that? Look at how price beautifully respected and rejected this fair value gap right here. Now it has continued higher. Right here, we have our market structure shift once again. Price retraced lower. We have here still our fair value gap. Price finds support into this fair value gap and has now shifted higher once again. We have here sell side liquidity taken, which means we have a breaker block right here, overlapping into this fair value gap right here, which means this is a high probability breaker block. We want to see price respect either this fair value gap right here or this breaker block right here. Price retraced lower, respecting that fair value gap and has now shifted higher. Price respected this breaker block right here and has now continued higher. We have a fair value gap right here. Price respected this fair value gap and is now trying to continue higher. So, looking at how the price reacts and respects our PD arrays or point of interest can give us an idea already if the price is going to continue or going to reverse. So, if the price is respecting our PD arrays or our point of interest, it means the price is continuing in our trend. But if we see the price completely disrespecting our PD arrays or it starts to disrespect our PD arrays, it means it's a strong sign of reversal. Alright, so I need you to take it down on your notes. Alright, always remember, these are the things that you always need to remember for our PD arrays. So once again, PD arrays are the true support and resistance. The fair value gaps, the order blocks, the breaker blocks, the mitigation blocks, the rejection blocks. These are the true support and resistance, not the equal highs, not the trend line liquidity, alright? Those are the targets. Those are what the market makers and the smart money are looking for. They are aiming to take out those liquidity. The PD arrays are what the price always respect. This is what the price react into. Right? So, every PD arrays will always be referred back into. Always. Maybe now or maybe later. If you have a breaker block or if you have an order block, maybe the price hasn't come back down yet into that order block now, but for sure it will be referred back into later in the price action. Maybe we form an order block or a breaker block outside a kill zone. That order block or breaker block will be referred back later inside a kill zone. Alright? So always mark out your PD arrays. The third one, PD arrays will be most active when time aligns with price. So like I told you already, we only trade inside the London and New York kill zone. Because this is where our high probability setup shows up. This is where our trades show up. This is where opportunities shows up. Alright? Alright, so the fourth one, like I said, highest probability PD arrays are found inside a kill zone. That is why we are only looking for a trade inside a kill zone. The fair value gaps, the order blocks, breaker blocks, mitigation blocks, all those PD arrays are respected more beautifully inside kill zones, right? That is why it is much easier to identify setups inside a kill zone, right? So that's it for this video. I hope you learned a lot, right? So maybe this is a lot for you to take in, but no pressure. Don't pressure yourself. Give this time. Submit to time. Practice this knowledge. Look at your own charts. Check this in your own charts. Right? So that's it for this video. I'll see you on the next one.